Boomerangs, Nawagulu Aaron. My name is Aaron, and I'm going to take you, Alan, on a journey through the rainforest of the Djabugay people up in far North Queensland here. We're going to head down to Boomerangs, which is Lower Cane Camp, and it's a beautiful spot down there. What we got here is a Djabugay. We call it the green ant nest here, and the green ants make their nest in trees. And we ate green ants as a tasty treat, and we also use the juices and the eggs as medicine. What we do is we squeeze out all the juices onto a bark tray, and we mix the ashes of the blue quandon tree with the green ant juice, and we drink it. It's good for fevers, constipations, and all cold symptoms. What we got here is a shelter. We call it a bayou, and we make it out of lawyer cane. You start off with the framework, and you tie it together with vine. On top, you put paper bark or either tea tree bark on top. Around the edges, you have those ginger leaves inside and outside to keep away the ticks, stops them from coming inside. On cold winter nights, we'll stuff the inside with lawyer cane leaves, and we put on the floor there comfy bed of kangaroo grass to sleep on. During the wet season, we'll have a hut that could house 30 people. We call it Jimaroo, and we'll only survive off some of the toxic nuts and whatever meat we got left over. When we move with the seasons, we just pull the bark down and leave the framework here for the next guy coming along. And these shelters can fit 4 or 5 people in it, and it's good for young brothers and sisters sleeping in there. What we've got here, some of the artifacts. We've got our sword here. We call it a wage, and we use it to settling disputes and all sorts of stuff. So if someone happened to steal my fire sticks, I'll have a dispute with him. I'll take him out on a full moon and sort it out on the battleground there. What I do is we stand up opposite of each other with the sword in one hand and the shield in the other. And I'll go first. I'll bring the sword over my head and try to crack that guy in the head. But if I miss or he blocks, I have to put the sword down and wait for that guy to have a crack at me. First person to get their head split open wins, you know. So yep, that's the sword. We've got our boomerangs here, our wongle, we call it. We've got many types of boomerang. We've got a non-returning boomerang, returning boomerang. We've got a boomerang design in the X style. We've got a big club boomerang to finish off with a prey and all that. And we use this boomerang for hunting flocks of ducks and birds. Got a bark tray here, we call it bidda. And the ladies would go out hunting and collecting, gathering nuts, fruits and berries with this. They also cradle little babies. And we've got our fire sticks here, very important to us. Without this, we wouldn't be able to cook our food or keep ourselves warm on cold winter nights. What we got here, we got soft piece of timber down below, and we got a hard piece of timber on top here. So you rub, and you create heat, friction, and hot ash onto the dry grass. It could be hibiscus or dried lawyer cane, but as long as you got the combination of a soft piece of wood and a hard piece of wood. And you got our spears here as well. This is our fishing spear, we call it yelma. And we walk along the beach here, the coast, and just hunt whatever. Trevally, coral trout, mangrove jacks, barramundi, brim, mullet, grunter, whatever. And our little bullet spear here as well, we got that to settle in punishment. So if the Djabugay tribe were divided into little tribes. You got ladies down there, men up here. So if a young fella went down to the men's place, ladies camp, sorry, they get speared for that. They get the spear straight through their leg. Well, okay, this is how we make our boomerangs. We made them out of buttress roots like that. Any rainforest tree with the elbow-shaped root, you get a boomerang from it, just like that. You don't take the whole tree down. You just take what you need, say about that much, and you trim it down to whatever size and shape you want it to be. We had 21 ways of catching fish. Us Djabugay people only know one of them. the hard milkwood here. What we do is we come to a pool and we scatter a whole heap of these leaves on the surface of the water, and what will happen is the white sap in these fellers, it'll cut the oxygen out of the fish underneath the water and stops them from breathing. It doesn't poison the meat, the fish are still good to eat. So you take what you need and you stir the water back up, what fish you left behind, and it'll bring back oxygen to the fish and swim away unhurt like nothing happened. We got the yellow walnut, we call that janda. We got the black bean, we call that yuari. And we got the cycad nut, we call that bardo. These are poison nuts. To make them edible, you must roast it in a morugu, an earth oven, for about 4 hours. Once it's been roasted, you pull it out, and then you use a garrigle here, a snail shell. You put a little slit in there, and it acts as a grater. So you grate the nuts up, grind it into a powder, pick up the powder bits and put it into a dilly bag, and let that dilly bag soak in running water for 3 to 4 days. Wash out the poison over those 3 days until there's no more white sap coming out. That's when they're edible, and we made our bread out of it, like dampers, bread cakes. So we made our bread out of these poison nuts. A lot of process to make bread, but that's the way how we survive in the forest here. An apple there, and you can eat it as well, straight off the tree. Reason why it's called a bumpy satin ash is it's got bumps on the side and it grows as fruits off the bumps. So makes sense, bumpy satin ash there. Plant lawyer cane, and there's 3 types of lawyer cane. You got the golden lawyer cane like that. You got a hairy Mary lawyer cane with the brown hairs on it over there. And you got the fishtail lawyer cane, and we had uses for all these plants, these lawyer canes. We had many uses for them. Dragon will be a water dragon. A little lizard about that big. Yeah, this is a good place to stop and wait a while. Milmabara, which is lawyer cane camp, and this is a good place to stop and wait a while and listen to the sound of the water flowing and the birds, the animals. Well, this lawyer cane I always speak about, it's the one plant in the rainforest here that gave us water. When you're lost in the forest and you got no water, you cut a green vine down. You see those long vines up there hanging down? You cut that vine down, you get half a litre of water out of it. It gave us fire. When you get a soft piece, a dry piece of lawyer cane and a hard timber, you make fire out of it. It gave us shelter, it gave us materials for building our axe handles, tongs, a way of climbing up and down the highest tree. It even gave us a bit of medicine with the acupuncture. And the little fruits on here you can eat as well. And the little seed can act as a filling in the back of your tooth. If you got a hole there, put the little seed and it fits perfectly. It's one of our totems, this lawyer cane, and the leaf. It can tell us a story about our social organization on how the Djabugay people lived. Well, it's Djabugay, one tribe, 5 clans. And those 5 clans are divided into 2 sides, the wet and the dry. We call it Gurabana, meaning wet side, and Guraminya, meaning dry side. Wet side depends on how much rain you get per year, and the dry side is basically dry. You look at the leaf over here, come over here and have a look at the leaf. Now when, like lawyer cane here, people were divided into 2 sides. You got the wet side here when it rains, and underneath you got a dry side. You got the Gurabana and the Guraminya. If you look down the stem and you look wet side over here, dry side over there, you'll have the totems. Now you got, on the wet side you'll have lawyer cane, water, rain, lightning, thunder, and the colors were black and white. The wet side people used to paint their totems on their body. Over here on the dry side, the Guraminya, you'll have the sun, fire, the wind, the rock, stone, the stars, and the colors were yellow and red. The wet side, the dry side people used to paint their totems on their body. And the marriage laws were, for me, my mom's from a wet side, I had to marry someone from the dry side, the opposite side. If I marry someone over here, we have little kids. Our little kids will have to marry someone opposite side to their mother over here, so which should be over in the Gurubana. And that's how that leaf there could tell a little story about our social organization, the two sides, and the marriage laws and whatnot. Yeah, I just normally talk about some of the little spirits after the lawyer came. I normally talk about the little hairy man. We call him Gangling, and he's about that big. If he catch a man alone in the bush, he'll wrestle us and try to beat us up. Only way we can defeat that little hairy man if you pick up a rotten stick. It's no good picking up a strong stick and you hit him with it, because you'll only make him stronger. You always got to pick up a rotten stick and hit him with it and make him weaker. You'll defeat him. He'll become your protector and follow you around in the forest. So if you're lost in the forest, he'll show you the way out. If you got no food, he'll show you where plenty of food is. They're pretty handy, that little short Gangling, but you got to defeat him first. The other one is the tall man, Boomerangs we call him. He's like Bigfoot.
Yeah,
He's crashing in the bush. Pack up your stuff and head off. You don't want to wrestle him. He'll defeat you all the time, that big tall man. And then there's the water fairies we believe in, Bonandas we call them. And back then in the dream time, there were stories of men falling in love with these water fairies and catching them. But to catch one, you must come to a place like this on a full moon night. You sit down by a fire and listen for slaps on the surface of the water. When you hear those slaps out there, you knew those fairies were about. So you get up, walk quietly to the water's edge, and you wash away your ganjan and your sweat. And you go in there after your bonanda, your fairy. You creep up on her, and you catch her. Once you got her, you bring her out to the bank and you warm her up because she's cold-blooded like a fish. You pick up a stick that's still lit from the fire, any stick, say this one, and you warm her up from her jinnah, her foot all the way up to her bada, her head, and back down again. She can speak and you tell her, you don't want to hurt her, you want her to be your wife, and that's how you catch a fairy as a wife. But the trick was, like most beautiful women, you got to keep your eyes on them. You turn your head for a second, they'll run away, and you'll never ever see them again. Bad luck for the person who catch them, and that's the story of the water fairies then. See, those three stories, I told you, the little short hairy man is similar to the leprechaun or the troll. A big tall fellow is similar to Bigfoot, and the water fairy is similar to the mermaids. I believe back when the world was Gondwana, was it called Gondwana? You know how the countries broke off with their animals, they took their spirits, animals and plants with them, and that's how the world got so similar today, I believe. Well, that's it.